All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. I'm your host, Coach JK McLeod. And before we kick off today's Tuesday fitness and nutrition adjacent episode, that's what we do here on Tuesdays, I first, as always, want to say thank you for choosing to press play on the Help Me Understand podcast. You have no shortage of content that you can consume. I am reminded of this each and every day as I look at my own podcast feed. So I truly never take it for granted that you chose to press play on the Help Me Understand podcast. So with that moment of gratitude now said, let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Today is likely going to be a fairly efficient episode. I want to talk to you about avoiding majoring in the minors when it comes to getting stronger and building muscle. And a quick bit of context on where this particular topic is most recently coming from is based on some very recent conversations and interactions with folks who are looking to really re-engage their focus on getting stronger and building muscle. So this has come from a variety of different age ranges, different backgrounds. I just am blessed to be exposed to a lot of different people on a daily basis. And I'm pretty jazzed and invigorated by the fact that there seems to be an uptick in the number of people who are looking to figure out how do I realistically and smartly, if that's the word, integrate strength training into, let's say, a cardio routine that they typically have been doing for quite some time, or they're taking particular like boot camp style classes. A few folks that have been really focused more on things like Orange Theory and some of the other like non-branded boot camps. I've had some interactions there recently where folks are just asking, hey, as I'm starting to really want to make some progress when it comes to my overall body composition, and or I'm just realizing that I'm a bit under muscled, I'd like to either get back into the gym, or I'd like to just make sure that I'm really focusing on what really matters. I'm just kind of confused. I don't really know like where I should be spending the majority of the time. And oftentimes the way that can be phrased is, I heard that it's best if you do total body workouts. I heard that working with free weights is better than working with machines. So I decided, let me just put together a short episode where I talk about what I believe are 4 things that if you focus on these particular things as the foundation of getting stronger and building muscle, and I am going to just by default utilize the term strength training, and understand that for the purposes of this particular episode, when I say strength training, that is also including hypertrophy. So let's just miss me with getting into the intricate details of things when it comes to the difference between training for strength and training for hypertrophy. And we'll just put it all under the same umbrella for today. If we can all agree to that. Okay, cool. I didn't hear any objections, so I'm assuming that we're all good. So I wanted to put together a short episode to talk about that. So let's talk about majoring in the minors. So I'm going to give you 4 things that I jotted down, 4 categories, 4 bullet points that I believe if you really put the majority of your time, effort, and focus into these 4 things, this will pretty much have you on the path to being forever fit. Like, you are good to go. And then I'm also going to share with you a couple of what I'll call the minors. So we got 4 majors and we got 2 minors. A couple of things that once you have been consistent in establishing the foundation of the majors, then these are a couple things that certainly you can start to integrate and you can get into. I consider them to be things that are more kind of starting to get into the weeds of things that at the end of the day, yes, they can make a difference. And also, it's not where I want you to spend the majority of your time. So we don't want to step over the way that phrase goes, stepping over dollars to pick up pennies. So how about I stop rambling and get into it? These are in no particular order. So first, when it comes to the first thing that I want you to really focus on as a major when it comes to strength training is going to be participating in a program that encourages you to achieve progressive overload. So if you're not familiar with what progressive overload means, progressive overload, for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to define that as the ability to gradually increase your weight and or reps and or time under tension to drive the adaptation and get stronger. So in practical terms, what that means is, let's take a movement like a goblet squat. So hopefully that's a movement that most people are familiar with. So if we take a movement like the goblet squat, and you're following a program that has the goblet squat programmed for you for 3 working sets, so 3 tough sets of 10 to 12 reps over a 4-week period. So let's say for week number 1, you were able to do 12 reps across all 3 sets for 50 pounds. Then if you are able to achieve progressive overload, what would happen is the next following week, or maybe even within the same workout, but for the sake of simplicity, let's say that week number 2, because during week number 1 you hit 50 pounds for 12 reps, then week number 2 you would up your weight to the 55-pound dumbbell, and you would see, okay, how many reps can I get with the 55-pound dumbbell? Okay, I got 10 reps. Well, at that point, you have then achieved progressive overload. You're not done. You're going to continue to go. But at that point, you have achieved progressive overload because you've been able to increase the amount of weight. Now let's backtrack. Let's say that week number 1, you used the 50-pound dumbbell and you were able to get 10 reps. Then week number 2, you were able to get 11 reps. You also have achieved progressive overload because you were able to increase the amount of reps that you did. And then time under tension, that is going to be basically your tempo count. So if we're doing a squat, that is when you are in the lowering, or we call that the eccentric portion of the movement. So as you're squatting down, and we go real old school here, where we count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. If you are able to achieve that, let's say for week number 1, you were able to achieve that 2 Mississippi count, then cool. Then week number 3, you were actually able to slow it down a little bit more, not having to change the weight or anything in order to do that. So we call that having better control of the movement and being able to apply more time under tension, which then potentially can increase the stress, and it's good stress that we want on your muscles, because that basically stimulates the signal to your body with proper sleep, recovery, and nutrition. I'll get to that in a minute, that, hey, we need to repair and rebuild this muscle. That's how that muscle gets stronger and also potentially grows in size. So applying those 3 things, the ability to either increase your weight and or increase your reps and or increase your time under tension, that all falls under the umbrella of being able to achieve progressive overload. That is going to be one of the majors that I've got for you here as part of the things that you should really focus on when it comes to strength training, the things that actually matter. All right, and again, these are in no particular order. Major number 2, a focus on movement quality, technique, and proper form. This one is supremely important, because lifting with solid form not only reduces your injury risk, it also improves the actual effectiveness of the workout. So you want to make sure that when you're performing a movement, you are putting a massive priority, like a number 1 priority should first be on making sure that you're performing the movement properly before you start to apply any of the progression techniques that we just talked about, with adding more weight, adding more reps, anything along those particular lines, trying to change up the tempo, anything like that. So first we want to make sure that we're doing the movement correctly. Now there may be somebody who's out there thinking, well, yeah, that's common sense. I'm here to let you know, as somebody who's been in the training game both in person and online for the better part of 10 years now, that even though that is common sense when it comes to actual execution, and then we're in the gym and we have all this messaging that's in our head around, well, if you're not really challenging your muscles, then you're not really growing. And then perhaps you're looking to your left and looking to your right, and you see other people that maybe are grabbing a heavier weight than you've got. Sometimes we self-apply pressure to, well, I'm just gonna ball out here. Like, I'm just gonna increase the weight. I know my form isn't great, but I'm just gonna go for it. And again, that is something that can easily lead to potential injury, and pain and all sorts of good stuff. Well, not good stuff, all sorts of things that are just no good when it comes to overall effectiveness. And also, at the very base of it, when we don't have proper form, then we may be completely missing the entire point of why we're lifting the weight, or in fact, we are missing the entire point of why we're lifting the weight. So not doing the movement with proper form and technique and execution is just slowing down and perhaps even eliminating the effectiveness of the movement itself. So that would be major number 2, making sure that there is a focus on movement quality, technique, and proper form. All right, major number 3, the things that actually matter when it comes to strength training, it's going to be consistency over intensity. And this is one that I will scream from the mountaintops. So I would much rather that someone is able to show up regularly and have a routine and a rhythm that keeps them showing up for the next session. And then the next session, that will always supersede being able to occasionally do like a max effort, what we call a max effort session, where you're setting PRs all over the place and then not being able to adequately recover from that. And then you're out of the gym for a number of days, or you have a ball out workout and then it's affecting your responsibilities outside of the gym. As somebody who is what I term a lifestyle-centric fitness coach and personal trainer, my priority is on ensuring that your program design is aligned with the lifestyle that you have. So an example that I'll give you is, if I know that you are already in a role, whether it be at work, at home, some combination of the two, and wherever else your third place is, that keeps you on your feet and moving from start to finish. And this is not like a rare avatar. This is a pretty common avatar for the client that I work with pretty regularly. Then I'm going to take that into account when it comes to where I'm putting your heaviest days. I'm also going to take that into account with looking at how much cardio we do or don't need to do and different things like that. Understanding what your overall schedule tends to look like, then let's make sure that we're building a program that has your life at the center of it. So that's lifestyle centric coaching. Have the program built around your life versus, well, I'm going to build this program and it's going to require that you go max balls to the wall all the time, and you're just going to have to adjust your life around it. Like, I'm sorry that you're so tired you're falling asleep at your kid's soccer game, but hey, you set a back squat PR. Like, that's just not how I roll. So it's always, for me, going to be about promoting consistency over intensity. Now, if you just translated that as, okay, so that means I'm never really going to have to really push it and lift heavy, miss me with that, because you definitely just missed the point that I just made. So it is about being able to pick and choose those moments, pick and choose the workouts, the movements within the workout, where it's all about going to the certain level of intensity, and then understand particular spots where we back it off a bit and make sure that we can have you showing up well energized for the next one. So again, consistency over intensity. So if you are someone who fits that general avatar of who I was talking about at the beginning of this particular episode with, hey, I just know that I need to get back into a normal rhythm. First, I want you to get the rhythm in place. Like, let's get an understanding of, are we doing 3 days or 4 days? Like, get an understanding of what that rhythm looks like for you. So then once that consistency is established, then we figure out, okay, now that we know it's X number of days in the gym on average, and for my folks, on average, it's somewhere in the 3 to 4 days per week range for the majority of them, then let's then apply the right consistency at the right time. So right intensity at the right time, not consistency, the intensity. So right intensity at the right time. And then we've got a beautiful mix of both. All right. And my last major, and certainly not least, is recovering well. And this is really tied in with the previous one when it comes to consistency, because when there's a focus on truly recovering well, then that enables you to show up more consistently for your training sessions and also for what you need to handle outside of the gym. Because keep in mind, how's that saying go? Like a workout is 4% of your day. Has anybody ever done the math? I've never done the math on that to figure that out, or 1%, whatever it is. So anyways, back to the point. Keep in mind that time that you're spending in the gym, although that feels like the hardest part, and for many of us, the most enjoyable part. I'm saying hard from a physical exertion standpoint. So the hardest physical challenge may be that time that you're spending in the gym. More likely than not, the majority of the progress that we're going to be making is really more directly related to what our behaviors are for the other 22 and a half to 23 hours of the day. So let's keep that in mind. So how well you sleep, how consistent you are with your nutrition. So whatever it means for you to eat well and get enough of the right nutrition, enough of the right choices in your body, important. And also rest days, time to repair and recover those muscles that you have trained with intensity and consistency. Those things are extremely important because at the end of the day, recovery is what's actually going to drive the growth that you're looking for, whether it is strength or muscle. So whether you are looking to get stronger and or build more muscle, the magic happens after the training session itself, getting ready for the next training session. So all of that time in between, how you sleep, how you eat, and how you recharge and recover, those are the things that move the needle forward. So again, just to review the 4 majors, and then I'll finish things off with just a couple of minors, things that I think people sometimes put more stock into than it really needs to be. Number 1, progressive overload. Number 2, movement quality, technique, and proper form. Number 3, consistency over intensity. And number 4, recovering well. All right. So of course I wanted to give you a little flip side because, it's all about perspective here on the Help Me Understand podcast. So on the flip side, a couple of things that I think are minors, and I don't want you to mistake me calling them minors as them being something that are not effective. That is certainly not the case. What I'm saying is, first, make sure that you've got your majors in place prior to getting into the minors. And what I commonly experience in these 2 things specifically is that folks will spend a whole lot of time asking questions, trying to find the perfect answer for these 2 things, these 2 minors, and they let that hold themselves back from actually getting into the gym or going down to the basement or the garage, wherever you work out, from just going and doing the workouts and getting started on a program because they're thinking about these 2 things and waiting to start something until they feel like they've got the perfect mix and the perfect formula. And that's just not the way that it rolls. So let's get into it. So the first of the 2 minors, number 1 is going to be trying to always find the perfect program. There are a ton of different ways that you can get stronger and build muscle. So at the end of the day, though, consistency and your level of effort and intensity are going to matter much more than trying to figure out, okay, what is the exact best split for me to have? Should I be doing upper lower? Should I be doing full body? Should I be doing like a body part bro split? Should I be doing like an anterior posterior? What should I be doing? Just start. So pick something like my friend Mike I remember he always shares this example of a previous basketball coach that he worked with that used this phrase, and I really dig it. It's pick a shoulder and go. Like, you got to pick a direction and go. And I often think about this. This is going to sound really morbid, so sorry for 10 seconds for anybody who's like super sensitive to this, but I always think about this when I see a dead squirrel in the road, and it just represents to me every time like somebody that couldn't make a decision. And again, sorry if you just got offended by that. However, that's just the way that my brain works sometimes. Like when the indecision like that, I feel like when I'm driving down the road and I see a squirrel in the middle of the road, it's like, snap. Another one that just like couldn't make a decision because they literally just like stop right there. And that's sometimes how it comes across when people are trying to figure out, okay, well, I was going to get started, but I heard that it was better if I did upper lower. I was going to get started, but just start. That also goes on in line with trying to figure out, okay, should I be using only free weights or should I be using only machines? Or should I be using some combination of 80% free weights and then 10% bands and then 10%? Use what you have available to you, get started. And the beautiful thing about folks who don't really wait to start and don't have to have like all of the answers before they get started is that they typically learn a whole lot more because they get like early fails. And the early fails typically lead to early wins. So an example could be somebody starts off with, let's say they start off with a 4 days per week upper lower split. Well, after 2 weeks, they've completed a total of 3 workouts. So they're supposed to do, by program design, 4 workouts per week. So after 2 weeks, they should have done 8 workouts. Let's say that after 2 weeks, they realize that they've done 3. Well, after 2 weeks, and if that 2 weeks is a pretty realistic representation of what your life actually looks like, well, fantastic. Now we've got data and we can properly assess, all right, yeah, you got started with this upper lower 4 days a week split. However, it's very clear that within the first 2 weeks, this is not necessarily something that you'll be able to do long term. Let's still do what we can. Like I don't immediately like to just cut things at a 2 week period. I typically like to at least go 3 weeks, preferably let it play out for a full month, collect as much data as we possibly can. Then that's the assessment period. Then we move into awareness and okay, we're aware that on average 2 days per week is definitely the best way to go. So going forward, let's move to a full body split and then boom, we're off and running. That individual who still stumbled and fumbled their way through the first 2, 3, 4 weeks is going to be in a much better position than the other individual who is still sitting on the sideline waiting to figure out what the perfect split is going to be and has done no activity waiting for the perfect answer. So that's minor number 1, trying to figure out like the perfect program. There is no perfect program. Even I, as someone who feels like I write pretty solid programs, none of them are perfect. There's always some tweaks and some adjustments and different things that we will do along the way. I just happen to be blessed with really great clients who are willing to ride the wave as we figure things out sometimes as we go along. So thank you. All right. The second and last minor that I've got for you, and this is not to mean that there are only 2 things, but these are just the 2 that come into my world the most often when having conversations with people about like trying to figure out what they want to do, is what I'm going to call advanced accessory work. And it's really more like advanced techniques that are starting to be applied. So some examples would be like partial reps. So within the hypertrophy space, this is something that's pretty big. And I do this in some of my client programs. It depends on the client, their level of experience and their level of execution. Like I have to have seen them actually do movements first. I'm an online coach, so I can only see what people send me. So I have to be very confident that they're really good at just executing the movement first with full range of motion before I then start applying things like what we call like lengthened partials. So a partial would be something along the lines of, let me use a pull down. So if you can think of a wide grip pull down, so you're seated, you reach up and you've got the bar that's going across and you're pulling that down. It's like a cable machine. So a lengthened partial would be, I'm starting from the top of the movement. Instead of pulling it all the way down to where my elbows are, closer to my sides, I just pull it down to maybe where the bar is around let's say like my eyeballs to my nose, like right around that area, or sometimes like maybe even down to like the nose and mouth area. But that would be a lengthened partial. And that starts to get into more of an advanced technique. I wouldn't apply that or worry about that if you are somebody who has not yet achieved just the basic of doing a wide grip pull down and being able to properly execute a wide grip pull down with a proper level of intensity. Like you've already been able to get it to what we call a RIR, reps in reserve 1 to 2. So you're already nailing form, you're nailing intensity, and you show up consistently at the gym. Cool. Then let's start playing around with some different things like partials. There's another technique called overcoming isometrics, which can be really helpful from activating like your central nervous system. There's all these cool techniques out there. That's one of the things that I really enjoy about the training space is there's so many different things that you can get into. And also, the problem is that there's so many different things that you can get into. Like first we got to nail the majors. So nail the major stuff, those first 4 things that I talk about prior to then trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm supposed to be doing like this many lengthened partials and this many that, and I need to do like implement these overcoming isometrics to make sure that I can squeeze out like 0.01 more percent, and it's just not necessary. Okay. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up this episode. Like I said, I wanted this to be a fairly efficient one, just something that was on my mind for today's fitness and nutrition adjacent episode, as we do every Tuesday. So again, we just finished basically to recap sharing 4 majors and 2 minors when it comes to avoiding majoring in the minors. Focus on what really matters when it comes to getting stronger and building muscle. If you have a particular fitness and or nutrition adjacent topic that you would like me to talk about on the Help Me Understand podcast, then feel free to reach out. My info is in the show notes. And then also, last but certainly not least, if you are down to stay connected with anything that I've got to offer in terms of a free weekly workout, updates on what's coming up on the podcast, things that we've talked about, and then sometimes I'll just randomly have some words of inspiration that I'd like to send out to you. You need to be on my email list, and you can subscribe to that just by hitting the link in the show notes. You should see that on whatever platform that you are currently listening on. Having a little bit of trouble, or not a little bit, a lot of trouble getting the links into the YouTube show notes. So if you're watching this on YouTube, just DM me on Instagram at Coach JK McLeod, MCLEOD. DM me, and I don't know, you can DM me the word YouTube or something, or just DM me your email address and I'll get you on the email distribution list. I'm not a spammy type of dude that I know of. I'll hit you with at least 1 workout each week, and that's absolutely free. And it includes a section called Behind the Screen, where I give you just a few notes on how to execute the workout, and also where what I was cooking up when I came up with that workout. So you get some insight that is not shared anywhere else, unless you're one of my one-on-one clients. All right. So with that, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. I truly appreciate you. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.